Button. Double tap to activate. Hello, my friends. No, this video's not about yarn, but I've been telling you I'm planning to spend some time away from the house with the family. It's a vacay, it's a staycay, except I'm not staying here. I'm hanging with my parents and my sister, so I pack. And I actually did make my packing video seriously like 2 weeks before. You can tell my hair is still gray, then it's colored. Now I'm almost ready to roll. But I do sometimes pack for that trip way early. I way overpack. I bring everything. I'm terrible at making decisions. I change my mind. I want to have like dress clothes and clothes for relaxing and a bikini for getting a tan in the yard and a sweater and something for this weather and that weather, when realistically it's going to be June and July in eastern Washington right now. It's looking like we could even possibly, we'll be in the 90s some days. It's gonna be hot. We're probably mostly just gonna chill with the family, so I don't actually need to bring a lot. But now this video, yeah, I gotta figure what shoes I'm gonna bring. Oh my god, y'all, that is just as big of a deal. So I know some of you are not at all interested in my shoes, and that's okay. You're just here for yarn, right? You're like, nope. But if you don't know yet, yeah, I have like a store shoe rack in my house, because before I spent all my money on yarn, I spent my money on shoes, for real, right? So I do own over 100 pairs of shoes. That is a fact. Now, when I got to 100 pairs, I just stopped counting, because I thought, 100 pairs of shoes, that might be like indicative of a psychological disorder. And I do, you know, I did work as a psychologist, right? I did. I had 10 years of college, worked in college counseling centers, and I was like, yeah, that could be a sign of a disorder. So we'll just go into denial and we'll stop counting and we'll pretend like it's not happening. Now, thankfully, I really got deep into my love and obsession with knitting and yarn and crochet, so I stopped buying shoes. I did. But, and I don't really even leave the house that much. I just sit and knit and design clothes now. So, I just wear flip-flops and sandals and slippers around the house. But I do have to make some decisions, and I did. I do think that these are really cool. These are a pair of slipper boots. I mean, look at these. We could like figure out how to knit. These are like cable knit like slipper socks. I mean, we got to figure out how are we going to knit these, my friends? How are we going to knit these, right? Because if I could figure out how to knit shoes, oh, it's on, right? It is on, right? If I love shoes this much and I love knitting this much, I do want to start making my own. The problem with these is, do not be fooled. They do have one of these indoor, outdoor, hard bottoms so they don't get wet, and that's good. They are waterproof. You can wear them outside, but they're super, super slick. There's no traction to these whatsoever. Like, they slide the heck all over my hardwood floors just walking around my house. I have to be careful in these shoes. So don't be fooled. That's the one thing that's hindering me right now from making my own cable knit slippers and boots, is we have to be able to find the right sole that is like non-skid, right? Something that's non-slide, that's truly safe for walking on hardwood floors. I'd also love it if it was like indoor, outdoor, has some waterproof. And then we got to figure out, how do we fasten that on there? We're going to have to stitch it. Do we have to do like leather work, glue it? I don't know. It's a big mystery that I haven't yet solved. But I'm not even going to lie. A woman who's obsessed with knitting and yarn and has as much yarn as I do and is obsessed with shoes, I want to be making a pair of these somehow. That is still in my head. I don't need those though for going home in June and July. But if you don't know yet, I am visually impaired. I was born with a condition called optic nerve hypoplasia, right? That just means the optic nerve stopped developing before I was born. I was born with a lot of issues with my eyes. I was born cross-eyed with a condition called strabismus. I got nystagmus, right, in all three forms. And so When I was born, my mom knew I was visually impaired because she's a nurse, but I couldn't even walk independently when I was like 13, 14 months old. When your child should be walking, I could walk. I had the leg strength, I had the coordination, but my eyes were such a mess. You also have to have balance and stability. You have to have your equilibrium about you. And I couldn't get that because my eyes would just wobble around in my head. They couldn't, get any kind of focus on my environment. So I couldn't walk independently. Um, I could walk if I held on to somebody's hand, and I could walk as long as I could like touch furniture, right? I could touch the couch and I could walk around. But as soon as I let go of something stable, I would fall because I just couldn't get my equilibrium and my balance. And so I had my first eye muscle repair surgery when I was probably 13 or 14 years old. I have since had two more. I've had twice in my right eye, once in my left, where they cut my eye muscles really tight and try to help. And obviously I don't remember the first surgery right at 13 or 14 months old. I don't remember it. But it did give me enough sight that it corrected my visual issues enough that I could get stable. So once that surgery was over, I had eye patches on. I took the eye patches off, and then immediately my mom says I could walk. I could hold on to one person, and then another person across the room from me could say my name, and I could follow their voice, and I could let go of everything and actually walk. So it wasn't that I lacked the muscle strength or the concept or the coordination. It was literally that my eyes were just so unstable in my head. They were affecting my ability to balance. So after I had those eye surgeries and I could walk independently, then they figured out that I didn't quite walk right. I could walk, but I don't remember even what it's called or what it was. But my feet weren't pointed the right direction. They either both pointed out or both pointed in. I really don't remember. I was still in diapers, and frankly, I'm pretty glad that I don't remember most of my time in diapers. I mean, right? So then I had to wear orthotics, and in the late 70s and early 80s, orthotics for children were not exciting. They were plain white, and then I just had these plain old white orthotic shoes, and then I had to wear like saddle shoes, like the black and white. That was as exciting as my shoes got. Now, when I was 1, I didn't really know. But by the time I became 2 and 3, and I became more aware of the fact that I had an older sister, and there were other girls at Sunday school, right? And they had that really pretty, shiny patent leather shoes, and I so wanted those shoes. I wanted shoes like everybody else. Okay, all the other girls, I wanted these. I wanted the patent leather. These are patent leather black Oxford heels. I freaking love these, okay? But I couldn't have these shoes for so long. And so, eventually I did. I think I was 3 or 4 when they finally said, okay, she can have one pair, like nice, not orthotic shoes. Yeah, I was super ecstatic. Got my patent leather Sunday school shoes. I got to be like the other girls. And so I say to people, I'm like, that's where my shoe obsession began, right? Now, is that true? I don't actually know, right? Because let's be real. There's millions of women that got shoe collections, right? And probably most of them didn't spend their early childhood years in orthotics, but I did. So that's my excuse. I'm like, I had to wear ugly shoes as a little girl. So is that the truth? I don't know. I don't really know. But that's where I say it started from. So if you don't know yet, I did participate in 2008 and 2009 in Portland Coast, the world's longest walking relay. It's like 130 miles. You walk around the clock from Portland all the way to Seaside, Oregon. Did it twice. I was the captain the second year. But the first year we did it, we actually had a doctor come out and evaluate us and watch us walk around and, try to give us pointers and tips on our walking. And he was a race walker himself. He was a doctor who was super into fitness, liked to race walk, was on a Portland Coast team. And he's like, yeah, I'll help out. We were the first team of blind and visually impaired people to participate in Portland Coast. It was called Team IROC, EYEY, IROC. And so when he watched me walk, even then at 30, he was like, something's still not quite right about how this lady walks. So even though I'd gotten out of the orthotics, he highly recommended that I get some ortho lights for my walking shoes. And thus began my life with Solomon's. Yeah. And these are ortho lights. And I would be honest with you, if you have these are actually great. They're great walking shoes. Great for, look at, they got a nice wide base. They got a little extra padding in there because I always wear my shoes out on the inside of my heels because I still don't quite walk straight, so they rub wrong. But these are cool. These are Solomon's, and I'm actually very familiar with the Solomon brand because I cross-country ski. If you don't know that yet, I used to participate in Ski for Life, which is a cross-country ski program where they match up blind and visually impaired people with sighted guides. And so they make the majority of the world's cross-country ski boots is Solomon. So I was very familiar with Solomon, but I had no idea that they made ortho lights. Yeah, so these are like cinch shoes, and these, if you don't know yet, like if you have dexterity issues or balance issues or fine motor coordination issues, or you're visually impaired, or maybe you drink a lot, you know, and tying your shoes is challenging, whatever, these literally cinch. That's all you have to do. These shoes are amazing. I can't even tell you how much I love them. So once he got me hooked on these, I was like, yeah, they became my go-to walking shoe. And then, of course, I used to walk down to, I get them at the REI, is where I used to get them in the Pearl District. I lived in the Pearl District from, about 4 years, Northwest 10th and downtown Portland. Super trendy, lots of cool shops and restaurants and art galleries. I was unemployed. I lived in a 400 square foot studio apartment with my 85-pound German Shepherd guide dogs. Very, very much on a budget, but I would hit the REI for these. And once again, I would hit the sales and the clearance and go in there over and over and pester the people for the sales and wait for these to go on sale and clearance out that year's month, and I would get them. So, yeah, I've really got to make some big decisions about
This street, JetBlue cancels all flights to major U.S. airport, offers customer refunds.
And if you don't know yet, if somehow you've missed it on my channel, I do use a screen reader. That's how people who are visually impaired access the internet. And my phone just loves to tell me random news and stuff. Yeah, whatever's trending. If there's a news topic that's trending and my phone's on, it'll just be like, you need to know about this. Don't even know why. But anyway, if you're on my channel, I do a lot of yarn sale videos, right? Because you know your girl loves a sale. I just did one on the $2, $4, $6 yarn sale for 2 days. You know I love to save money. I love sales. And so I used to hit the Nordstrom's rack and the REI and the Puma store for sale. Not even gonna lie, y'all. I got these gorgeous black and gold Coach, legit Coach heels for like 90% off. There was no way ever in my life that I was going to afford gorgeous black and gold velvet Coach heels unless they were 90% off. These were from Nordstrom's rack. I am totally all about the bargain hunting, my friends. You can find it for real. You can look at these are beautiful shoes. I rarely wear them. They're not going home with me this summer. I can honestly say I got no use for them on this trip. Would I love to bring them? Of course, they're gorgeous, but they're not going to go home with me. They're going to stay here. They're going to be kept safe, nice and sound. So they're staying here. But for real, if you need to save money, like I was unemployed. Okay, when I bought those shoes, I was unemployed. I got it for like $20. Yeah, for real. So, and I used to also hit up the Puma store. If you like Puma athletic shoes. Did you even know that Puma used to make ballet flats? No, I've been to the Puma website since then. I have looked and looked over the internet. Like, Puma, hello Puma, would you please bring back the ballet flats? How cute, how fun. They have great traction. I walk places. I had a guide dog when I bought these. Now I use a white cane. I walk everywhere. So good traction on my shoes is important. And that's what Puma had. Puma, bring back the ballet flats for real. They discontinued those. I am super, super excited. It's the same thing with yarn, right? Like yarn. You know, we get our discontinued yarns. You hear that sad story on my channel all the time. Like, it's been discontinued. Yeah, well, guess what? My favorite shoes that I have these in black and tan. That's how much I love them. Just like my favorite yarns. Puma discontinued my favorite shoes to sad face. You know that's a sad face in my world. And I even have Puma hot pink and I think silver gym shoes. Love these two. These were also, to my understanding, discontinued by Puma. Love them. Please bring them back, Puma. Yeah. And probably realistically was going to go home with me because we're just, you know, hanging with the fam. I just need summer sandals. Probably realistically, Sam Edelman's. These are my Sam Edelman black sandals. Got the little bow on them. This is probably what's going home with me. I love Sam Edelman's. Can be a little pricey, but they are absolutely worth the money. They're comfortable. Like some of your cheap, and I've learned the hard way. I bought like cheap sandals on the internet, and they are not comfortable at all. Okay, so sometimes you do have to put out the extra money. Get your Sam Edelman's. I love them. So realistically, I'm probably going to bring those home with me. And probably my good old practical Skechers. I'm not at all embarrassed to wear Skechers. I love them. I think if you're visually impaired, they got traction. They're stable. They're nice and wide. They're flat. Velcro, they got the little toe strap, which I like. That makes me feel nice and secure. Love to know, what are your favorite shoes in the summer? What are your favorite shoes, period? Do you like shoes? Do you not like shoes? I know a lot of people on my channel are going to tune out from this, and that's totally fine, right? It's fine. This is just where my head is. This is why I'm not stitching with you right now, because I got to make shoe decisions. Yeah, so realistically, Skechers are probably going to go with me. Probably white Skechers, probably black Sam Edelman, maybe another pair, but, you know, space. There's very limited space, and my parents have a small car. So, you know, yeah. Do I wish I could bring more shoes home with me? Of course. Am I just hanging out at their house with them? Yeah. Do I need more shoes than that? Probably not. Probably not. I probably don't need my Pumas, right? Even though I want to bring my Pumas. So, I have to pack shoes. This is going to take me a while. Got to make some decisions. But these are kind of fun. And did you know Nike makes snow boots? I don't think they make them anymore. I have a strong feeling this is another sad face discontinued item. But Nike even made snow boots for a while. These are like blue. They got the Nike swoosh. These are legit good traction on them. They got the pom-poms. They got the fuzz. They got the fur. Does anybody else got Nike snow boots? Yeah. They are very cool. They're very comfortable. They're very fun. They were my second favorite pair of Nikes for a long time. I'm not a Nike girl. Believe it or not, I'm not that into Nike. But I lived in Portland. That was near Beaverton, where there's a big Nike headquarters and a Nike campus. So I got access through people to like the kind of the oddball Nikes, right? So I was dating a man for a while. And his daughter was living with a man who was pretty high up at Nike. He did a lot of traveling, did a lot of business deals. Actually, he went to China a lot for Nike. And so he was actually gone a lot. So his daughter kind of had the house to herself. So he got her a pair of really cool Nikes that she gave to me. They were solid black. I love them. Everything was black, including the swoosh on them, right? So I loved them more than, I even wore them to clubs and stuff because they were like shiny. They're like a combo of Nikes with like that patent leather look. The whole shoe was super shiny except the bottom was the clear base. That swoosh was black. Everything was black on black on black. Super cool. Loved them. I wore them everywhere till they were literally splitting apart, right? The sole was separating from the shoe. It was flopping around. It was dangerous to even walk. So I gave them to the mister. I'm living here now. I'd had them since, I don't know what, maybe like 2004 or something. So I'd walked all over Portland, wore them to dance clubs. When I'd wear them in dark dance clubs, people didn't even know they weren't dress shoes. For real, people love them. So I give them to the mister here, and I'm like, can you find me a pair of these? He went all over the shoe stores trying to find me my Nikes. And this was the closest thing he could come up with. I'm like, I want black Nikes, right? Were these Air Max. I don't like these. Okay, I've worn them like twice. I don't like them. I'm really not a Nike girl except for my blue snow boots. But these have the swoosh of the white, and they got the clear base on them. They were the closest thing that they could come up with. So, but you could tell these really, they're dusty and they're not worn. And they're clean on the bottom. I don't like them. I just legit don't like them. So, but he did some research. He went to the store basically and had them do some research. And what it turned out, the Nike that they had, the people at the store, like he went to the Nike, retailer here, and they were like, yeah, these shoes don't exist, right? So what it turned out is that because I got the shoes from a man who worked high up from my ex-boyfriend's daughter's friend who was high up at Nike. The shoes that I had were a prototype, somebody's design that never made it out to market. They're like, no, these shoes have never actually, like, you can't ever buy these shoes anywhere. Like, nobody owns these shoes. I had like these really cool shoes that somebody had designed and developed. They had a prototype that was presented, and then for whatever reason they were giving the thumbs down. I'm like, what is wrong with people? Those are the coolest Nikes I'd ever owned, coolest Nikes I'd ever seen, and somebody gave them the old kibosh, the squash, the thumbs down, never made it out to the floor. And silly me back then, I just told the mister, I'm like, I'll just trash them, right, because they're broken, ripped up shoes. I should have been like, put them in a box and like store them, right? Because I had a rare, even though they were in horrible shape because I literally walked all over them, I had an incredibly rare pair of prototype that never made it out to market, that I just treated like they were an everyday pair of shoes and not something rare and unique. And now I'm like, I wonder if those would have been worth money. Obviously they wouldn't have been worth money because they were in such bad shape. But I'm like, I wonder if something like that at some point is worth money because, there was only a couple of pairs ever made, ever. And I treated them like they were everyday shoes, not knowing what a rare gem I had. I had a prototype. So, anyways, I'm going to stop talking because I have no idea if anybody's still listening to this. Probably not on my channel, but I know on the internet, I know that there are millions of people in the world who love their shoes, okay? So I'm hoping this finds the shoe people. I hope the shoe people on the internet find my video. I hope if you like to talk Uggs, right? We got some big old Uggs here. If you like to talk Uggs, if you like to talk Nikes and Pumas and shoes and shoe designs, hey, let me know. Did you ever get like a weird pair of shoes like that, like a prototype, and not even know it, right? Like your Coach heels. What are your favorite shoes to wear? As much as I love my Coach heels, I'm not gonna lie, I tend to go to the Sam Edelmans and the Skechers. I do. I just like a plain old sandal in the summer. Dressy shoes have their place, but right now, just wear what I wear and mostly spend my time stitching. Alrighty, my friends. Well, I'm gonna get back to making decisions, packing, and we might not be stitching too much. This week might be a little bit different while I'm hanging with the fam, trying to just enjoy them. The videos might be different, but we will get back to stitching real soon, and I'm sure I will be stitching when I'm at home. You know it. So until next time, thanks for listening, and bye-bye for now.
Pause button.